dialed in to Byron Velvick's Fish Tales. Real talk, real tactics, and the stories that make it all worthwhile. Byron Velvick's Fish Tales is brought to you by Livingston Lures, Trika Fishing, Mercury Outboards, and Camus Boats. Without further ado, here's Byron.
Another episode of Fish Tales with a good old friend of mine. I cannot believe I got you to come on it. Scott Martin, my
What's up,
buddy
buddy?
dude, you're on Fish Tales. How cool is this?
I'm excited,
Welcome to the podcast, dude. It's a brand new venture for me. I built an in-room studio here at the house. So I took my daughter to school this morning. I do these podcasts and then I go pick her up from school. And you know my deal. I mean, you're getting to travel around the world fishing, and I'm super dad in a school bus, taking her to school every day and dropping her off. But dude, thanks for taking what is it, a Tuesday morning? Take Tuesday morning to come be on the show, bro.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it very much. I've been friends with you for how many years now? It's been like 25 at least.
Dude, I was thinking about that before we started today. I'm like,
Yeah.
how long have we known each other? Because we were both kids. We bumped into each other starting to fish those Redman, I think, or
Yeah.
FLW
Yeah.
when it was Everstart. Do you
That's right.
remember? I'm hoping
right.
you remember when and where and how we met, or do you not remember as much as I don't remember?
I can't remember. It's funny. I just remember always being around you and always gravitating to you around the tournaments. And then, I just remember going out to Texas a few times and hanging out with you out there, and then different things that we've done. So it's been awesome,
Yeah,
man.
my favorite Scott Martin story. You walk up to me at a tournament and you're like, dude, did you cut your hat? Did you cut your hat? And I go,
Yeah.
what? And he goes, and you said, Scott goes, did you cut your hat? I go, my buddy Scott's asking me. I go, yeah, this is an old volleyball thing. The volleyball players used to do this down at Hermosa Beach. This was the look for the volleyball
Really?
guys. Yeah, the volleyball guys, like in Redondo, Hermosa, Manhattan Beach, would wear their cut hats upside down. And it was
Wow.
they cut their hats out. So you asked me about it. I remember joking with you and saying, dude, it's not a hat. It's not a visor. It's a hyzer. Do you remember
It's a
that? The
hyzer.
hyzer.
Yes, I do.
And you
I
said,
do.
I'm going to tell you right now, Byron, I'm going to steal your stuff. And you
That's right.
started cutting your hats.
I did because I did the visor thing, and I was having a hard time. And all these companies would, you know how it is. The sponsors always provide you with all this merch, and you're like, oh, these hats are cool. And then you put them on, you're like, oh, it doesn't fit right, or this visor's wrong, and I would just have to make my own. It was,
remember, it was
I
too
did the
narrow.
Byron
They were
Velvet
too
look.
narrow. And you get those
That's
little
right.
cans on your forehead because you'd have too narrow of a
Yeah.
visor.
Oh yeah.
And so what happened with Mercury, this is the original deal here. Mercury used to have these black Max hats. You remember this hat right
Yeah.
here?
Oh yeah.
And we were fishing the U.S. Open. I was in my 20s, and we're fishing the U.S. Open. There's a trophy. There's a check from it right there. I know you got a bunch of checks in your back too. But so I had to wear these black hats by contract. You had to wear the black Mercury hat, and it was hot as hell out there in July. So I'm like, cut the top off it. And now
Yeah.
you got yourself a Mercury visor. And you know the cool thing about this, they don't blow off. Like these don't blow off. You can run around at 75 miles an hour and the wind blows up and through it, and it doesn't come off your head like a hat. You know that?
That's right. That's right. That's right. I did
So-
that for years, man. And, actually, I put a visor on the other day at my house, and I thought, is it time to bring it back? I don't know. I might bring it back.
Do you have the hair for it still?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, absolutely.
You,
Look at that.
you remember one time at ICAST, they made a Scott Martin shampoo and a Byron Velvet conditioner? Do you
right.
remember that?
That's
There
right.
was
I
a
did it.
Scott Martin shampoo and a Byron Velvet conditioner because supposedly we had the best hair in the business at an ICAST one
We
year.
were definitely voted best hair for sure.
We couldn't
That's
catch a
funny.
bass to save our lives sometimes, but at least we look good trying.
That was the funny thing about Dad. He's 86. He still has his hair, and but the old story. And Kevin Van Dam said this to me the other day when me and Kevin were on a text thread, and we're talking about the Team USA stuff down in Africa, and he goes, I need you all to kick butt down there and all this stuff, and he said, Scott, I need you to do like your dad did back in the days. He goes, when he would catch them, Roland would catch them, he'd pull up to the dock and he'd pull out his black comb. He had a black comb, like a regular black comb in his back pocket. He'd pull it out of his back pocket and just start combing his hair at the boat dock right before he weighed his fish in. He would do that right there. And and everybody said, like, when Roland pulled out the black comb and started combing it, he had a bag. Like everybody,
knew.
like, damn it, dude, he just won the tournament again. Yeah, when he busted out, and Kevin knew about it. Kevin said, bring
Kevin
some
knew that when
combs.
Roland Martin broke out the black comb, you were in trouble.
In trouble. That was
Put
mega
your
bag
seatbelt
alert right
on
there.
because you're about to get knocked off the hot seat right now.
That's right. That's
Your
right.
tournament lead is over when Roland's
That's right.
combing that hair.
That's right.
Did he
That's
turn
funny.
86?
86.
Oh my
86, and he's
gosh.
doing good. He's doing really
Yeah.
good. I got to tell you a funny story about the comb. The last time I saw him break a comb out, this is great. You're going to love this. FLW tournament, about 6 years ago or so. He's fishing the event that year. He fished a couple events that year. And we're in Okeechobee, and it's the first day of the tournament. And we're both fishing in the same area up in the monkey box. And we both cracked a bag. Matter of fact, he had like, oh, no, it was day 3. I'm sorry. It was day 3 of the tournament. Or day 2 of the tournament. Day 2 of the tournament. Back up. Sorry. Day 2 of the tournament, he already caught a big bag, and he only needed so much to make it in the top 10. So he's got a bag, and I go in, and I see him. I pass him on the west wall, which is just right outside of Clewiston, and he's still fishing. And I'm thinking, like, he needs to be in. Like, his flight's almost due in. Like, what's he doing? He's got enough fish. He's going to be late. So I stopped my boat, and I'm like, what are you doing? Hurry up. We got to go. He said, no. I got just a couple more minutes. I'm okay. I'll make it in. I got 1 3-pounder. I want to try to get rid of it. And I'm like, yeah, you're crazy. Let's go. Come on. I got to go. And I take off. And so I get to the dock, and his flight's like 10 minutes behind mine. So I'm sitting there on the dock. I'm looking down the canal there at the marina, and I'm looking for his boat. And I'm like, oh, crap. About that time, at the last minute, I see him come around the corner at the lock, and he's idling up to the dock. And I'm okay. He made it. Good. And as he's pulling up, I'm like, something's weird. Something feels weird. I don't know what it is. Something feels weird. I'm looking at his boat. He pulls up, ties the boat off, pulls his comb out. He's wet, by the way. He's soaking wet. His partner's soaking wet. And he pulls his comb out, and he's brushing his hair at the dock, soaking wet. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And I'm looking like something, it doesn't make sense. I look down, and I'm like, where's your trolling motor? He goes, the damnedest thing. You won't believe it. I go, what are you talking? And I look, and his graph's gone. Half his rods are gone. And his co-angler's wet, and everybody's wet. And I go, what happened? He goes, well, I had about a minute to spare, went to pull the trolling motor cable to leave. Matter of fact, he threw a 5-pounder, called that 3-pounder, by the way. So now he's got a mega bag. He pulls the trolling motor cable. It breaks off in his hand.
No. Oh, no.
And he does not have time. Like, he's on the bubble of time. And he's like, with the trolling motor cable, and he's like, oh, and he's yanking on it, and he's trying to figure out how to get the thing up, and he's got pliers in there, and it's nothing's working, and he's got, oh my God, we're gonna be late. And he goes, screw it, sit down, put your vest on. And he puts his vest on with his co-angler, and they take off on plane, and the trolling motor goes, wow, just blows off the trolling motor, rips all the cables off the trolling motor, the depth finder that were all wrapped and tied to the cables and everything. It ripped the whole wrench unit off, but he made it. The trolling motor is gone, dude.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. But he was combing his hair, dude, because he had like 24 pounds.
But he had a bag, but he lost everything in the process.
Well, but he did say, he said, you think Minn Kota warranty that?
Because the cable broke. That's what you call cutting it too close. And at the last minute, you go to pull the cable, and it's done. That's the only person I ever heard that happening to besides your dad. Skeet Reese used to have those automatic trolling motors that would go up and down for a while. You remember those?
Yeah, right.
And he had one that went auto. He went and sat down at the driver's seat. And he pushed his little button for the long. You know, when they first came out, we had that little thing, and some of these guys were running them. And Skeet was pushing the button at the console, and he's trying to get his trolling motor to come. He runs up, and he can't get it out. He goes back. He pushes the button again. And so finally, Skeet, just like your dad said, we got to go.
Yeah.
And you get up on pad, and here it goes, man. Everything in the front got ripped off. That's crazy. That happened to your dad at Okeechobee, and you saw that.
Yeah, but that was the last time he used his comb. That was 6 years ago. He pulled that comb out.
That only happens. Did that happen when he was 80? That happened when he was 80 years old?
Oh, it had to be. Yeah, he had to be 80 years old.
6 years ago, because he's 86 now.
Yeah, it's probably 80. Yeah, he was 79 or 80 for sure. Yep. Yeah.
So I've known you forever, and I made notes. I had no idea you were not born in Florida. I thought for sure you were born in Florida. You were born in Oklahoma?
Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's right.
What
Yeah,
is
Broken
that?
Arrow.
Like, how I couldn't believe that. Do you ever when did you leave Oklahoma? Because I'm like, "Oh, I gotta check up on my friend Scott, see if there's anything I don't know
Yeah,
about him." And I go to,
yeah,
like, Wikipedia, check out my buddy Scott because 'cause we've known each other for 25 years. I'm like, "I think I could do this show without that, but wait a minute.
yeah, yeah,
Oklahoma? What?"
yeah. So that's where my mom's from, and my dad moved there when they met, and my dad worked for Lowrance back then in Tulsa, and my dad helped
I did not
develop.
know this.
Yeah, my dad helped. My dad's got a big engineering background. My great grandfather was an engineer. My great great grandfather was an engineer. Some very famous engineers, actually. Um, so like the Tom Bigby Waterway,
Yeah.
my grandfather, my dad's father was the main engineer on that project. Like he basically designed the Tom Bigby Waterway. Kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then they have
very
bass
cool.
tournaments there, which I haven't fished a bass tournament there, but I want to. So maybe I could win. That'd be kind of neat. It'd be like a little heritage thing. But we lived in
That
Oklahoma and then I was born, but we moved when I was 4. So I don't remember much. I just remember bits and pieces, and we lived in this little neighborhood like not too far from Bass Pro Shops in Tulsa there, which
Mhm.
a funny story. So I was at Bass Pro in Tulsa about, again, 6 or 7 years ago doing a promotion. And I'm in the Bass Pro and I called my mom and I said, "Hey mom," I said, "I want to drive by our old house." I said, "I don't really remember it much. I kind of vaguely remember just a little bit. Where is it? What's the address?" And she tells me something, 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 South Park Avenue. And I punch it in on my phone. It's not 10 minutes away. So I said, "I'm going to go by there. It's going to be neat. Like, I'll see my old childhood home. It'll be cute and everything's great. And it'll just be a nice memory." Cause I kind of remember like the yard and the house a little bit, and
Right.
everything's great. And I drive into this little neighborhood and it's an older neighborhood, but still up, kept up. Everybody's yards are manicured. And I'm driving, I go right, I go left, and I drive a little. I'm getting ready to the end where the cul-de-sac was. And I'm looking off to the left where the house is, and I'm like, "Oh crap, dude. I think that's my old house." And it is the crack house of the neighborhood. There is a dog chained to a tree. There is a
No.
broken down car on bricks with a tarp over it. There's
Oh,
foil. There's foil in the windows. The
no.
yard is no grass. It's just dirt. I'm like, I'm scarred now. My childhood
No.
memory of my
So
little
much
home.
so much for going up and knocking on the door and being like, "Hey, I used to live here," and this elderly
Oh
couple invites you
gosh.
in.
Oh,
You know
that
what
was
you probably
tough.
hope
Yeah.
for with a white picket
Uh,
fence, and a
yeah.
happy memory, and they let you come in and see the
Yeah.
room you slept in. I know where
Yeah.
you're going with this because in Whittier,
Yeah.
California, that
Yeah.
same thing. I left when I was 4 or 5, but I wanted to go back to that house because I vaguely remember in a foggy haze, the corner house
Right.
on I
Yep.
called my mom, I asked for the address, but I could see where you didn't get out of the car for that one.
It was bad. I was like, "Oh my gosh, man. We went from a nice home to the crack house of the neighborhood." So it was
So
meth for sure.
the Martins are so you guys are synonymous with Florida. I had no idea you had any history at all in Oklahoma until I found,
Yeah.
like I said,
So
do a little research
yeah,
on the show, and I'm like, wow.
yeah.
I always thought you, Dad, everybody, it was all South Florida, always.
Yeah. So my dad would come down and film in the winter for the weather. He'd film Ocala and all over Florida. And every year he would spend, a couple months down here, like the winter, and my mom and I were obviously back home in Tulsa. And my mom's like, "We can't do this. We just need to buy a place in Florida." So that's how we ended up here. And we ended up buying a place here in Clewiston and he loved fishing the lake, obviously. And then we bought the marina, which was a little old wooden shack with a bunch of acreage. And the rest is history. So yeah, I'm from Florida. I pull for the Oklahoma Sooners. They're my team. My mom graduated from there too. And but I am a Floridian. I claim to be a Floridian. No matter what, I'm still a
You got the
Floridian.
birthright. You got the birthright of a Floridian, even though you're
Yeah.
technically born for 4 years in Oklahoma. But what's it like? And that's in my notes. You led right into it. What is it like growing up with arguably the most famous bass fisherman, if not multi-species fisherman in the world? Your dad, Roland Martin. What is it like? What was your childhood like with your dad? And this is again knowing you for 25 years. We've talked about everything fishing. We've been buddies on tour. But all these questions I have now are questions. What's it like for Scott Martin to grow up with dad, dad taking you fishing everywhere and just being Roland Martin's son?
Yeah, so that's interesting, and I don't want this to sound negative on my dad's part at all because it wasn't just the way it was. But a lot of people think like, oh man, you must have had it made. Like you got to go travel all over the world and fish all these great places. And he got to teach you how to fish and how to tournament fish. And he taught you all these things that have led you to be a good fisherman. And you're so lucky because that's what happened. You know, you just had the best in the world teaching you how to cast and fish and think and win tournaments and telling me where to fish on lakes, etc. And it's actually the farthest from the truth. I, unfortunately, because he was so famous at the time when I was born, he was already on tour. He was already starting the TV show. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, internet. We didn't have any of that stuff. So he was gone. And I didn't ever, and it was a different, you know, parents back then, and maybe not all parents, but like a lot of parents were, my dad wasn't real affectionate and again, not his fault. I'm not throwing shade on him. It's just the way he was brought up, like it wasn't,
My dad too. You met my dad,
yeah,
you met my dad. I took him fishing at your at the resort there, and you and I have similar dad personalities, I think.
yeah. So I just didn't fish with him as much as people think. I did go on a few really cool trips, but not as many as you would think. Not as many as like say I've taken my kids. I've taken my kids, Jacob, Reed, Hilary, and Reed and Amelia on 10 times more fishing trips than I probably went on with my dad. And and again, no shade on him, but he was gone. He was at these tournaments and he hunted. And so when fishing season was over, he was turkey hunting all over the country. And when he was gone, he wasn't calling from a payphone really. So I didn't know when he was coming home. I would wake up a lot of days and be like, oh, dad's home. Hey dad, what's going on? And he would tell me about his trip or whatever. And then he'd be leaving a few days later. So, I fished the very first bass tournament with one of my friends that was my age. Like I didn't, a lot of people, oh, you probably fished tournaments with your dad, and he taught you how to. And like I just fished tournaments with my buddies, and I just kind of hung around the marina and kind of self-taught myself a lot of things. But growing up around him, the things that I did learn was hard work, passion for the sport, which is he has more passion, and here's how you can prove he has more passion for this sport. He's 86 and he's still
Yeah.
like a kid when you talk about fishing. If we had him on right now, he's like a little kid. He's driving on Friday. He's going to Arkansas to film. He's driving from Arkansas to Minnesota. He's going to hang out with some of the lenders. He's just traveling for the next 2 weeks in his truck, filming TV shows and he loves it. He calls me up
Right
and he says,
now
"Oh,
at
oh,
86.
I talked to this guy and I'm going to do this show with this one. He's flipping these docks and he's catching 7-pounders, and it's like you're 86. How do you even like? I don't know if I'm going to have that same energy. I probably will, but I've learned that passion is special, and that's what he's taught me is how to have so much passion for the sport and for the fishing and the outdoors. And I did have resources here. At least I had good rods and reels, to kind of borrow occasionally. And I probably had access to boats a little bit more, sooner than most people, which was good. I remember borrowing the bass tracker, his little bass tracker he had here. And I borrowed it and I would take it out when he would be gone and he would let me, as long as I took care of it. And one day I was going to clean it. And, as a kid, you don't know how to clean stuff. So I'm like looking around the cabinet and I find this stuff called Lime Away. And I'm like, I spray it on this like water line and it goes away and it looked all good and everything. I'm like, oh, that's great. So I spray the whole side of this aluminum boat with Lime Away.
No,
And the whole
no,
thing just turns to this chalky mess. Like it just ruined
permanently,
the
like
it ruined
permanently.
the shine of this boat. So this beautiful TX-17 that dad used for shows it looked awful. It was just ruined. And he came home and he's like, "What the heck did you do?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I didn't. I
Permanently
was
ruined the
trying. I
side
didn't
of a
know."
boat.
The
Hey, I
whole
gotta
side,
ask.
like you can see the handprints, like going. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. So, but I
So
did I did borrow a lot of rods and reels.
when I grew up fishing, I was ate up with it like you were ate up with it when we were kids. young kids. And then I think it was funny. My mom talked to my fishing mentor, Steve Oliver, and there was a time, I want to say probably the beginning of college, where I discovered girls basically, and fishing wasn't
Yeah.
cool. And I took a
Yeah.
sabbatical. I took a sabbatical from fishing. There was a period of time there in my college days before I got out of college where I don't think I fished hardly at all. Did you have an experience like that
Yeah.
where you didn't fish for a while? And maybe, and I didn't know if, like, my daughter, she loved fishing, but dad's a pro fisherman. So she'll never follow in my footsteps as much as I hope she would want to be a young angler.
Right.
Like, I want to talk
Yeah.
about Hilary, who is
Yeah.
who is your daughter following your footsteps. But did you go through a time, getting back to the beginning question, did you go through a time where you just put the rods down, didn't fish for years like I did, or did you always fish?
Yeah. Yeah. So I started fishing heavy at 14, like tournament fishing at 14, like local stuff.
Yep. Yep.
And maybe 15. Maybe I was at 15, and then I just bounced around on local stuff. But when I went to college at 18 years old or whatever, I moved up to Alabama first, and I did not take a boat with me. So I hunted up there more than anything. So that whole year up in Alabama, I didn't fish at all, hardly, like zero. I don't think. I don't even know if I've even brought a couple rods. Then I moved back to Florida, and I lived in Gainesville, Florida, and I actually took a boat up there. I had a boat here in town, like my grandmother had bought me this old Astroglass with a GT 140 with the racing flags on it.
Okay.
And that was my bass boat, a little Astroglass. It was like an old, like 1980,
I
but
remember
it was
Astroglass
16.
boats.
Yeah, it was a 16 and a half foot Astroglass. And so I took it up to Gainesville, and I didn't fish much up there either. I took it more skiing and messing around. I fished a few times, but then I actually ended up meeting, and I can't remember how I met these people, but Benville Plantation had just got bought, and I met one of the owners of Benville Plantation, and they said, we're going to have guides, and we're going to build this whole thing here. Nothing was built yet. And I said, well, I'll be a guide. I used to guide here in Clewiston when I was at home. And he said, oh, that'd be great. So I would guide a little bit. That's about the only fishing I would do. So that in college kept me fishing a little bit because I would guide some and run up to Benville. It was, of course, a private lake, and it's full of fish, and just, it was a lot of fun. So, but that was the least amount that I fished for sure. Didn't fish any tournaments, didn't do any of that. And then, in college, late in college, I met Glenn Brown. Him and I had a class together. You remember Glenn Brown, the flipper,
Yep.
the Florida
Yep.
fisherman?
Yep.
He passed away a couple of years ago, sadly.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, he passed away. Cancer, was terrible. And fantastic fisherman. Him and I had class together, so we started fishing together. And then Chuck Pippin, which you probably don't know Chuck, but people in the industry now would know Chuck. He was the marketing director for Icon Boats, and I met him in class as well. And so,
Wow.
like, and then Chuck moved down here and guided for me some. So I stayed a little involved in fishing in college, and I made some really good friendships, lasting friendships that have resulted in long-term fishing friends as well. Like I said, Glenn unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but him and I fished a lot together over the years. He was you talk about Don Avina. Who was the flipper out west? Who was the flipping
Dave
guy out
Glebe
west?
and D. Thomas. D. Thomas and Dave
Yeah, D.
Glebe
Thomas.
were the
All right.
D. Thomas.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So Glenn Brown is in that conversation. He's that
Oh,
guy 10 years later, 15 years later. At Glenn Brown at 17 years old, 18, 19 years old, was flipping ounce and a half weights and hyacinths and winning tournaments when no one did that. No one did that. He was one of the first ones to do it. So,
well, you remember Dave Glebe and
yeah,
D. Thomas. Dave Glebe came out there and caught, tens of pounds more. I can't remember the winning weights Dave Glebe
yeah.
used to pull going to Florida and pitching and
Oh, yeah.
flipping when, to your point, everybody would throw a spinnerbait or a crankbait towards those toolies, but there was that whole world of untouched fish. I can't
Oh, yeah.
imagine that
Yeah.
world back then when everybody was throwing up to the toolies, up to the
Yeah.
grass, and all those fish lived happily ever after inside that line. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine those days?
Yeah.
And Glebe and
I-
D. Thomas and Glenn Brown are like, they're fishing fish that have never seen a lure, living their whole lives buried in that stuff back there. And that's fascinating, isn't it?
old footage. Yeah, it is. So I found some old episodes at Okeechobee, like 1980. ish episodes of, maybe early, nah, probably one 90s, but like late 80s, maybe early 90s. Anyways, some really great episodes of Okeechobee that Bassmaster has archived on you can find them on YouTube. And you'll watch the guys flipping a 3/16 and quarter ounce weights to the edge of the hyacinths. Like they're literally pulling line and going to the edge, and they're little curly tail worms going to the edge. And I'm going, if they just went 3 feet in with like a catfish weight, they would
Right.
win the tournament.
Right.
Yeah, crazy.
They're so
It's crazy
close.
that no one thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, D. Thomas, I mean, it's out in the Delta, California Delta. When I was a kid, I mean, I'm in high school and I'm reading about Dave Gleeby's Superstar in One Bass magazine. They used to have the Evel Knievel jeans on. They had Evel
Yeah.
Knievel outfits. They had the stars
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
the legs and the big
Yeah.
collars. They looked like it was that
Yeah.
70s, late 70s, early 80s Evel Knievel looking outfits. And they're superstars of bass fishing and they're wearing all this flared out Ray Scott kind of clothing.
Sideburns. They had the big sideburns.
Yeah, Tommy Martin sideburns and the looks and the chops. And they're over there and they're tule dipping. They called it tule dipping at the California Delta. And they had to lower the rod length. Remember, because they used to use 9 and
Yeah.
10, 11-foot rods. And they're like, no
Yeah.
more of that. You got to go to an 8-foot rod or less than an 8-foot. So they had the telescoping flipping sticks. And to your point, man, just take that bait and stick it back in those tulies, stick it back in that stuff and catch those virgin fish that everybody else is just forgetting about.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's crazy.
It
Good
is crazy.
times.
So now Hilary is fishing. Let's get back to Hilary because I know she's there visiting you or she was going to visit you. So now your
Yeah,
daughter has taken up
she's
professional
yeah.
fishing.
She yeah, it's crazy to think that she got the fishing bug, the tournament fishing bug, like full force,
At what
And
age?
because
Because
here's the neat thing,
Cameron never got it. So when did Hilary? She always
yeah,
had it.
yeah, because I remember watching her on the dock in the Keys, like catching snapper off with a little push button reel and a piece of shrimp, and she would catch snapper off the dock, and she never would get tired of it. She would just do it all day long, catching these little grunts and snappers and pinfish, and just absolutely every day. That's all she wanted to do. And I remember and she was young, and so I would go to the store and get shrimp, and I would get the hook set up, and we would sit out there and watch her. And I remember one morning, Suzanne and I were laying in bed. It was real early in the morning, maybe 7:30. And we heard somebody come in the bedroom, and Hilary goes, "Mom, Dad, look, look!" And she's holding up a snapper, on the fishing line, and it's wiggling around. And she's like, "Look, I caught one." It's 7:30 in the morning, and I'm like, "How did you?" Like, as a parent, I'm like, "What, you could have fallen in? Like, what are you doing outside?" And so I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute." So we go outside, and she's got her chair set up. She's got a bucket with like the pieces of shrimp in it. She's got little pliers sitting there.
How
Like she did
old?
it the
Wait,
whole thing
how old
herself.
is she? How old is this when
Like
this happened?
like like 5 or something. Like young. Like way too young to
Oh,
be doing it by herself out there.
5 years old
And
with a chair and a rod and everything. And I mean, like you said, she could have fallen in. That's like a kid by a swimming pool. That scares the
yeah,
living heck
yeah,
out of
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. She got up and went fishing. She got up at like 6:30 in the morning and went fishing. And I was
So
like,
she's always had the
wow.
bug. She's always had it.
Yeah, she always has, and she's always been very competitive, and she's always wanted her drive. I wish she was here to tell you this. Her drive is to show the world that fishing is cool for women and women are equal in the sport, right?
Yep.
And it's a male dominated sport. There's a few women out there doing some great things, and she just wants to be one of those women that makes a difference in the sport by helping. And I think she has, with her videos that she's done and the
Yep.
influence that she's had.
Yep.
And you look back at, I look back at when I was in college. So even when you were in college, there was 0 girls that fished when you were in
Right.
college. When I
Right.
was in college, there might have been like 1% that fished, basically 0. And now you fast forward to today, and because fishing, like if you told girls back then, like, "Hey, I'm going fishing tomorrow," they'd be like, "That's what fishing? That's silly. Like, what is that? What do you do? What do you
Right.
mean fishing?"
Right.
And now you say, like girls now, they understand it, they like it, they're participating in it at the same level. Matter of fact, it's one of the fastest growing demographics in the sport, and Hillary is just all about it. So she wants to support women in fishing. She wants to show she wants to show everyone that women are equal in the sport as well. So she just wants to, as far as tournaments go, I'm not sure where she wants to land. A lot of people say, "Oh, I can't wait for her to get on the elites one day. I can't wait for her to try to win the classic one day." And will she have a chance to win the classic one day? I think she will. Will it be through the elites? I don't think so. Will it be through some big tour? I don't think so. Maybe she wins an open, right? But I don't think right now she wants to go full time into tournament fishing. She wants to just keep doing what she's doing, creating content. She's got some television opportunities that we're kind of talking about,
What year is
and
she
let
in college
her.
right now? She's in college right now, right? What year?
So she's a junior right now. She's a junior right now, and
Uh-huh.
she's taking less classes this year. She's focusing this year on some opportunities that are popping up, and so she's going to fish a handful of some tournaments at the beginning of the year. We're developing a fishing show that she's going to be hosting and stuff. So we got to film a bunch of those. And there's some really great opportunities coming down the pipe for her. So she's taking a step back from school right now just to kind of take
Mhm.
advantage of those opportunities. It's kind of like me, like I was in college and I moved home to build the restaurant and the tiki bar. It was something that I had developed in college. And in one of my
Some
classes,
place which I
I
love hanging
made.
out with you at. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I told my mom, I was like, "We need to build this tiki bar and this restaurant out of Marina. We really need it." And she said, "Absolutely." I said, "Well, I want to do it. Let me move home and let me take over and build it." So me and 6 guys built it and got it up and running. And then FLW came
Wow.
to town for a tournament and had a co-angler opening for me because we hosted the tournament. They're like, "Hey, you want to jump in as a co-angler? You're our host, so we'd love to have you fish. It'd be kind of cool." So long story short, I finished second. Rob Newell, of all people, beat me by like a half a pound, which was hilarious. And they were like, "Hey, if you want to fish the rest of the year as a co-angler, they give away a boat at the end of the year." And I'm like, "Well, let me just try it." So boom, I jump into that. Boom, I win angler of the year. I win a boat. Then they're like, "Hey, you can go on tour now." And I'm like, "Well, let me just see what happens." And I win like the second one. So, my point in all
That's how
that
it
is,
started for you? It started at the tiki bar there at
yeah,
Clewiston at the tiki bar as a
yeah.
co-angler in an FLW.
It started my path was set in trajectory at that moment. I had
Wow.
fished a couple Bassmaster Opens on the lake and did pretty well. Like of the year or two before that, but I was not planning on doing any tour like at that point. So that's just it all. But that's what sometimes life throws you opportunities and you have to take them. And that's kind of what Hilary's doing right now is she's taking some of these opportunities and seeing where we can go with them. So yeah, she's wide open and she's got a great group of sponsors and she's got her own boat now and she's filming her own content and making her own
Wow.
schedules and traveling all over doing stuff. She went to Texas. She actually went to Austin and filmed about 2 weeks ago. Ended
Oh,
up getting COVID and had to cut the trip short, which really stunk.
oh
And then now
man.
she's out here to film. Now she's here filming, and then she'll go home, and then anyways, more stuff. So we'll have to get her back out to Texas and let you and her do an episode together, doing something
We'll
pretty
do it right
cool.
here. Candy Lake. Funny story. You remember I used to host the FLW Cups, right? And I bring my daughter with me to the FLW Cups. You remember that when you'd be competing in the FLWs?
Yes, yes,
Camera would
yes.
sit there in the audience on the final day. They had the confetti going off and the champion. I'll never forget, Scott. My daughter turns to me and she says, "Hey, Dad, do any girls do this?" And I'm like, "There's not a lot, but there's a
Really?
few." And she
Yeah.
goes, "Do you think I could do this?" And I mean, I was excited. I go, "Honey, if you want to shoot for winning an FLW Cup or a Bassmaster tournament, just say the word." This is when you remember, she was about 8, 9, 10 years old, and she was in.
Yeah.
She was all in. Like she wanted to learn. She'd fish tournaments with me. She was my team partner. She went to the FLW Cup when I was hosting it. She saw the trophy and the confetti. I have her playing on the stage afterwards and all the confetti with God, the host of ceremonies had a daughter the same age as Camber. The guy, you remember the guy with the booming voice for FLW? Can't remember his name now.
Carlton Wing, Carlton.
No, yeah, he was the MC for FLW for a long
Oh
time.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Had a
yeah.
blonde wife and a
Absolutely.
blonde
Yeah,
little daughter, and his wife looked like
yeah,
his daughter,
yeah.
but I can't remember his name now. But Camber would hang out with her on the stage, and she's like, "Someday I'm going to be up here fishing." someday, she was telling everybody, she goes, I'm going to fish this tournament someday. And I thought that was set. But to your point now, here in Texas, man, every boy fishes. They all got trucks. They're all in the bass clubs.
Yeah.
They all fish. And Camber's realizing now that she's gotten into high school that, every boy around her wants to go bass fishing, and she's eyeing it again. I think she's looking at it knowing that it
That's
might be
cool.
fun to
Yeah.
take, pro dad and go fishing again. And I think that would be great. So I maybe I'm gonna have her check out Hilary's stuff. Maybe Hilary can help influence Camber, because Camber would probably love to see what Hilary's doing.
Oh yeah, have her check her out on her Instagram. She's got a lot of stuff on there, and then her YouTube channel, she has all fishing videos on there, so it's all good
She's
for sure.
inspiring girls to fish, and maybe that's what my daughter needs, a little kick in the pants from your daughter to jump back into it. But she's intrigued by it in high school, but for a few years there, she wants nothing to do with it after being my little protege as a child and then turn into that. But so fishing now, do you have any regrets? Is there something that you wish you would have accomplished in your career? You talk about, I know you got Angler of the Year, FLW, you won the FLW Cup. What regret do you have in fishing? What do you wish you would have accomplished?
Well, I don't know if regret's the right word. I just wish I would have accomplished one thing for sure, and it's obviously the Bassmaster Classic. That was my main goal. When I decided to leave FLW when the change was happening 5 years ago and went over to the elites, um, that was my goal, to win a classic. Obviously want to win a blue trophy, and obviously wanted to win. I wanted to win all three: a Bassmaster, an Open, an Elite, and then of course ultimately the Classic. So I didn't accomplish all three of them. I accomplished two, which was good, and I accomplished qualifying
what
for the
did you
elites.
accomplish? You accomplished which two?
Accomplished one. I didn't accomplish two. The one I accomplished was the Open at Okeechobee last year.
Right,
So I won an Open. I have a Bassmaster Open.
right.
The other thing that I'm proud of is that I qualified for the elites through the Opens. Just, that's a very hard, rigorous thing to do. And
Very hard.
a lot of people on the elites got calls 5, 6, or 8 or 9 years ago when the switch was happening and got invited. So they're
Right.
half the people, and I'm not taking anything away from them. They're all great fishermen, but half the people on the elites have never qualified for the elites. They just
Hmm.
got a phone call one day. Hey, you want to come fish the elites? So I
Yep.
qualified through the Opens, and that was a gritty, gritty thing to do. And I'm proud of that. I'm just proud of it. It was a lot.
So many guys did get that phone call. They got the phone call, they got invited. Major League Fishing had gutted their roster of celebrities, of pros. So, the Bass is gutted, and suddenly it's like, hey, we need anybody to fish the Bass Elite Tour, where all those guys, this is when I was retiring. So I was off the tour.
Yeah.
That's about the time when Major League Fishing and Bass, and I left, but I watched it become, when you looked at the Bassmaster standings, you didn't recognize the people that were in the top 30.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was, I had gotten invited, but it was too late. I'd already made my decision to stick with FLW. And so that's how that went. And then I fished FLW for a couple more years and then decided to, make the switch over. And, but yeah, it was awesome to be able to do that. It was definitely the hardest thing, but you appreciate moments like that. And so I look back at that and nobody can take that away from me at all. And I ended up winning Angler of the Year last year on, the Southern Division, which wasn't a big award. I didn't get any money for it or anything, but it's still a little feather in my cap. But what not winning the Bassmaster Classic is definitely something that I wish I could have pulled off, but it's just not in the cards. Um, it is what it is. But I'll say this. I'll say this right now, and this is something that I think you'll appreciate. It's a neat story too. Let me give me 1 second. I'll bring it right here. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait. Bring it.
All right. So there's the trophy. It's the Bassmaster Open. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
2024, Lake Okeechobee. Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. If someone said to me, would you rather have won a Bassmaster Elite Blue Trophy or this right here? Open. The Bassmaster Open.
Right.
It'd be this one all day long. It'd be this one all day long. And I'm so glad that I got this one because in 19, and you'll have to go back and look at this, and you can pull up some photos too, you can put on this. back in the late 80s, Dad fished a tournament here in Clewiston, a Bassmaster Open. Back then it was called Invitationals.
Yep.
And he won the tournament. The tournament was hosted out of our marina in Clewiston, in our same parking lot that's there today. Bassmaster and Ray Scott set the stage up right there in the parking lot. And I was about 14 years old at the time. And Dad won the tournament. I remember standing in the crowd looking up at Dad holding that invitational trophy, thinking, that's what I want to do. That was the moment I thought, like, I want to give this a shot one day. And I dreamed about standing in a parking lot holding the trophy up. And he's standing there in front of me and my whole family, my mom and my sister. And I just thought that was awesome. Well, fast forward all those years, Bassmaster has not come back to Clewiston. They've all gone to Okeechobee City. The tourism up there had a deal. So Bassmaster has not been back to Clewiston, Florida until this year,
Oh,
2024. Roland Martin
oh,
Marina. We're going to have the tournament in the same parking lot. We're going to have the tournament in the same parking lot. And I'm gonna stand on that same stage with my dad, looking out in that same parking lot in front of my mom and my dad. It was like full circle, dude. It was like standing there, like, I can't believe this just happened. Like,
bro.
that's
Oh
it.
my
That's
God.
the whole thing. To be able to stand there, this is my most proud. This has the most memories for me and the most meaningful because of where it comes from the heart and the root of everything.
Wow.
So I could have won 2 elite tournaments on tour the last couple of years, and they wouldn't mean anything. What would they mean? Oh, I won an elite at wherever. This means something to me. So if I had to, stop my path and, kind of step away from bass, and this is what I came away with, I'm okay with that.
That is the
I'm
holy
okay with it.
grail. That's the holy grail of all your trophies right there by far. With that story you just told, that's
Yeah.
the holy grail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It really is, man. And, it was special. It was special. I mean, I caught that tournament was so crazy because I caught all those big fish around everybody. Like everybody, there was 80 boats around me every day. And it was just a blessing, man. Like it was
Hey,
crazy
you broke somebody's record
have
in that
that.
tournament too, I think. I think you broke a guy's record in that
I
tournament.
think I did. I think I got a phone call from a guy right when it
There was
happened.
a record,
And
I think 83
like,
pounds, 5 ounces won the heaviest winning weight for 3 days was 83.5 by some guy out
the guy
west.
called me the guy called me and he said, if anybody was ever going to break my record, at least it was you.
I'm going to start
Thanks,
crying
Byron.
right now because hey, right back here, since we're on trophies, oh my gosh. Oh, there it is.
That's awesome.
So
Look at
that's
that.
not where I set the record, but that is where throwing a swim bait in the same corner, the same time that I set a record that was broken by my friend Scott Martin at Okeechobee. Then when you talk about trophies, this is my blue trophy that it was 10 years to the day, 10 years to the exact same week that I set the record with 83.5 throwing swim baits at Clear Lake. Then I come back 10 years later to this exact day. And it was April 2010. It was 2000 when I set the record that you broke. And then Scott, my first fish, my last fish the first day on the swim bait had a stinger hook in the back. I catch a 10-10 on the first day of the tournament, the last fish on April 10th. In this tournament, I catch a 10-10 on the first day of the tournament on April 10th, which is exactly 10 years to the day that I set the record that you broke. So with the Holy Grail, I'm like, oh my gosh, I caught a 10-10 on a stinger hook on the very tail of the swim bait. I had the little owner stinger hook on the back, and I doubled up, having set the record in Clear Lake in that corner. And I'll say it right here. I'll say it to you and everybody. When I pass away, I want my ashes spread in that corner at Clear Lake because they call it Byron's Corner now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like when I pass away,
great, dude. Awesome.
I want my ashes spread where this happened, because like you holding that thing, I'm holding that trophy at Okeechobee in that parking lot. For me to hold this trophy, having, 20, what was it, 10 years then? Now it's a 25-year-old record that got broken. But dude, when I heard you were on your way to breaking my record on Okeechobee, and they said your 83 pounds is gonna fall and your buddy Scott is gonna break it, dude. I had
Oh,
no idea the backstory to that tournament. All I knew was I could not believe you were wrecking them like you did.
yeah, yeah, that was special, man. That was when I found those fish. When I found those fish, it was neat because it's an area that I'd fished a bunch. Matter of fact, Hilary and I had 30 pounds on a frog in that area the year before. So it's an area, it's a community hole, big community hole. And there's always 20 or 30 boats in there fishing. And when I fish a tournament in there, usually I just come into the area and I don't really have a certain spot that I fish. I just weave around wherever the boats aren't and just fish my way through wherever and catch fish here and there and everywhere. And you end the day. Well, this particular tournament, I had tried everything I could to find stuff away from the community hole, and I'd found a handful of some good things. And all of a sudden, I'm like, last day of practice, tournament, I have to be at the water, off the water at noon, and it's about 11 o'clock. So I have an hour. And I thought, well, I might have to just fish up there in my community stretch, at least the first day. Let me run up there real fast and see where I would like to maybe start. I'd like just have some idea in my mind of where I want to start. So I ran there. Nobody was there. It was empty. Nobody was there. Everybody was already come in. At this time, I only got like 40 minutes left to fish. I stopped my boat in the same general area that I always stop. There's no visible things out of the water, so you can't like start on a corner of a cattail. It's open water.
Mhm.
So I just stopped the boat, put the trolling down, throw a worm out, like dragging it, thunk. I'm like, lift up on it. It feels heavy, real heavy. I'm like, oh man, this feels like a big one. Oh, I can feel his teeth on the line, crunching. Shake it off. I throw over here, a couple more casts. Dong, another one. I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow, it's a big one. I'm looking at my graph. I've got it like in perspective mode, and I can see stuff swimming around, and there's tilapia and everything else. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I throw over here, dong, another big one. And I go, okay, this is where I'm starting. I go to my waypoints and I hit waypoint. You know how you always do symbols?
Yeah.
Like you do stop sign or,
Yeah.
like whatever, grass bed or. So I put exclamation point, like a red exclamation point. I've never put that on my Garmin ever.
I
I
know
didn't
that
even know it was
signal.
there. I'm like looking, I'm like, exclamation point right there. So I dot it in there. I leave. So the next day, or I go to the meeting that night, I get drawn. I'm boat 200 boats in the tournament. I'm boat 150.
Yeah.
This is like death sentence. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not good. So I drive up there. I'm driving in, and on the horizon, I can see the flotilla of boats. It's just boats, and
Oh,
everybody. You know how Florida fishing is. Everybody's kind of power pole down,
yep.
casting in one little zone, and you power pole up, move 10 feet, power pole down, and everybody's got their own spacing, and everybody's there's 80 boats in about a small whatever square mile area. And I look and I come in off to the side and I'm looking and I'm like looking at my screen. I put my trollometer down. I'm fishing my way into the crowd and I'm in an unwrapped boat. I don't have my jersey on. I got like AFCO hoodie on. I'm looking like I look like a ninja. I look here in Australia. I look like a ninja.
You're a unmarked bass ninja is what you are. Nobody knows who you
This is
are.
what I look like.
And that's it.
Yeah, I've got
There.
full outfit on, dude. Full,
Oh
full,
my
full
gosh.
rain gear, mask on, hat on, unwrapped boat.
So
And look,
nobody has a
I
clue who
roll
the
in
hell's
there and
pulling
look at that
in.
big old bass.
Oh God.
Look at that big old bass. So,
Yeah. That's
so
the
I
one
roll
that
in
cost
there
me
and
the
I'm
record
like,
right there. That's the
uh,
one that took away the 23-year
yeah.
record right there. Go ahead. Continue on. Record breaker,
So
heartbreaker,
I'm throwing
stealer.
a chatterbait and I'm evaluating. Yeah, I'm evaluating. I'm throwing a chatterbait and I'm looking at my graph and I'm just fishing. I'm trying not to draw attention. I'm not trying to troll motor fast because you know how you troll motor fast in a crowd. It's a tip, by the way. If there's ever a crowd of people all doing their thing and you come flying in there, everybody gets defensive and they're all starting to like they'll jockey you out of the way just because. And so I'm like chilling and I'm like evaluating and I'm looking at my graph and as I'm looking down, I'm like looking up. I'm like, this cannot be right, but it looks like it's right. There is no one around my waypoint. Of all the boats,
The exclamation
there's
marks, the
nowhere to
red
get.
exclamation.
It's like there's an aura around it. It's like there's an aura around my 50 or 75-yard zone in the middle of everyone. Literally. And I'm like, I can't believe it. So I can't go fast because if I go fast, somebody's going to power pull up and go forward. So I'm creeping and I'm creeping and I'm chunking and I'm just going as slow as I can. And I'm getting there. And this was like the excitement of I don't know how, like, I don't even know how to put it. Like, I'm like, this is really going to happen. This is really going to happen. It's really going to happen. I got position, dude. I'm on the waypoint and I power pull down
No
and no one
way.
moves.
And you don't have
Got my mask on.
anybody around you. So you're able to get into that one spot you wanted so bad, even though you were about
I'm
150.
perfectly, yeah. Yeah. I'm not cutting
Unbelievable.
anybody off. I'm not making anybody mad. I've got my own, like, legit. This was open territory. Nobody's upset. Nobody, nothing. I put the troll. I put power poles down. I pick a worm up. Donk. Set the hook. I don't say anything, dude. It's like a 7-pounder. It's boosh in the water. You see everybody looking. I go back to the console, land it. I don't say a word. I unhook it. I slide it in the live well. And I proceed to catch 33 pounds. And I didn't move probably 40 yards. 40
Oh my
yards all day, dude.
God.
33 pounds. And
Oh,
nobody knows it's me. Like, everybody's like, I can hear people talking, like, who is that? Who is that? Even the camera guys that were getting close, I can hear them over there talking, like, I don't know who that is. I don't know. And finally I heard one of them say, I think that might be Scott Martin. And so
no
I was just
way.
totally like a little ninja. And then so here's the cool part. Here's kind of crazy part. Day 2, right? You think you run right back to where you caught 33 because they're still biting. I had another spot about a half mile away on the other side of the flotilla that was a similar deal, similar little zone that had some fish. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start over there on day 2. I ran to the other spot on day 2 and I was up to like 25. And then I left there and ran over to my day 1 spot late in the day. And there was like a whole bunch of boats all around it. And I rolled in there. I came off plane from the outside. I came off plane. Oh, and I put my trolling motor down. And everybody knew, now it's me. That kind of let me, at least I could come in there. I wasn't like they were going to block me. And I roll up, and I'm not cutting anybody off or anything, but I roll in there and I'm firing a worm. And the boat is still moving from the engine. And I'm firing a worm. And all of a sudden I'm like, catch a 9-pounder, dude. Catch a 9.
Oh,
The fish jumps. I go to the back of the boat. The boat's still moving forward. I land the fish. I grab it, pull it in the thing, grab like a 3-pounder, throw it out, put the 9-pounder in, stand back on the trolling motor, turn hard left, pull the trolling motor up, and leave.
were they on beds? Were they on beds?
Yeah. So they were spawning, but they were also migrating through there. It was a big underwater patch of hot. All right. So, like when you see cattails sticking out of the water, these big giant islands of cattails in the lake.
Yep.
Okay. And you know how you go up and you flip around them?
Yep.
Well, the state came in the year before and cut them all off at the water line, but left the root ball, like the roots that are like, 2 or 3 feet tall. The whole root system was still left in the water, underwater.
Gotcha.
So you had an invisible cattail clump.
Oh.
And that's really what it was. And
Oh.
those fish were in those cattail clumps that you couldn't see them. And there was holes in the cattails, just like there's holes when you see a real cattail clump, there's holes. And those fish were spawning in those holes, using the edge up. Like it was just my own invisible cattail clump, basically. And I got lucky, dude. Like it wasn't like that wasn't my thought. When I pulled up there the last day of practice, I wasn't looking for my own invisible cattail clump. Like it just happened. It was a blessing.
So
Crazy. So then day 3.
wait. Day 2. I
go ahead.
got to interject here. Day 2, I get a phone call from Ken Duke. He says, Byron, I got some bad news for you. I'm like, what's going on, Ken? He goes, have you heard what's going on down in Florida right now with Scott Martin? I go, oh man. I go, my buddy Scott. I go, what's happening? Is it good news? I mean, I love Scott. He goes, yeah, he's going to break your record. I go, what? And he goes, yeah, dude. He goes, how much did you have after day two? What did you have at the end of day two?
I had 20, right at 27, and then I had 33. So 27 and 33, whatever that is.
27, 33. Let's do
So
the
that's
math real quick.
60.
That's
I had 60.
60. You have 60 pounds. I have
60.
83 fives right here. Right here.
Yeah.
You got to break it out. 83.5 in 2000. 23 years. This record right here stands. And then I get a phone call that Scott Martin only needs 25 pounds on the last day to break my record. And then
Yeah.
now I've set the
Yeah.
stage. Here's a record that lasted for 25 years. And then on the last day, my record goes bye-bye. And I heard it happen pretty quick with some big ones, and it was over fast.
Last day, I started over on that secondary spot again for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that, but I just started over there again, caught a couple big ones, and was up to about, I don't know what my weight was exactly, but I think once I had 20, I knew that I was going to probably win the tournament. And then I went back over to my starting spot,
The
and I was throwing a
exclamation
big
mark. We'll
bandito
call it the
bug.
red exclamation mark.
Yeah, yeah. Went back over to red exclamation point, and I'm casting my bandito bug around. That's what I was catching them all on, 100%. And I did have a wacky worm tied on, and didn't use it at all. Had drop shots. I could see people catching fish on all kind of drop shots and wacky worms, but they're catching little ones. That was the difference. I was throwing that bigger bait, that bigger feature bait, and it was just making those bigger fish were just reacting. That was just a perfect window. And I saw one on the scope. I couldn't tell how big it was, but I could tell it was a fish there. And I was fishing for it, couldn't get it to bite. And so then I pick up a wacky worm and I threw it in there, and I'm just sitting there with a wacky worm, just kind of just shaking the line. I can't see the fish, and it just went tight. Didn't move, just went tight. And I lifted up on it, and I thought it was a catfish at first because it was just dogging me funny. Ended up being a 9 something. And that sealed the deal on everything. I knew I won the tournament. I knew I broke your record at that point, which I really wasn't, trying to focus on that, but I knew it was in the back of my mind. People had brought it up. So I knew I had accomplished those things and had,
You
I don't know,
suck.
20,
You suck.
27 or so. And then I caught another 9 right after that. So I ended up with 30 and change.
Yeah. I was getting reports the third day, Scott. I'm
stupid.
sitting at home. I'm being a dad. I'm taking care of my kid. I'm just here, retired, it's just Mr. Mom, getting lunch ready, getting dinner ready. And I'm like, oh, he got a 9. Oh, he got another 9. And I got tears rolling down my eyes while I'm making my dinner or after school snack. Because my buddy Scott, who I love like a brother,
my God.
has just poached a record that was, for me, my last claim to fame. Was I still was a record holder.
Oh, man.
Now my resume reads former record holder, thanks to his buddy Scott Martin. But hey, forward-facing Sonar, what are your thoughts on it? What do you think about it now in tournaments? I'm dying. You were talking all about it. I know it was a big part of winning that tournament. What's your take on forward-facing Sonar right now in fishing?
Here's the deal. I like forward-facing sonar. I've been with Garmin forever. I've utilized forward-facing sonar since the very beginning. I was probably one of the first ones to really use it. You look at Eastern Fothergill and you look at some of these guys like Drew Gill and some of these electronic master guys that they have now. I feel like I was Drew Gill of forward-facing when it first came out, only because no one even hardly used it back then. I remember seeing like Mark Rose and some of these offshore guys. I would look at their boats and not see the transducer on their trolling motor, thinking like, okay, well, I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to tell them to go get it because they're not, but it was the first generation, a lot different now.
They were Sons of Fishes. I mean, we were with Garmin together. The Sons of Fishes, when they first came out, and we were looking at those Garmin units that you couldn't make sense hardly of what it was. You remember that? We did the national ad campaign.
Yeah.
Me, Brett Chapman, Bill Dance. We're all, and I'm going to show a picture of that along with all the other pictures we're going to add to this podcast. But you remember how weird that picture looked on the original Garmin forward-facing sonars?
That's right.
It was weird looking.
Yeah.
It looked like a whirlpool. It makes sense of it for me because you were using it a lot more than I was.
Yeah, I don't know how to make sense of it. And then it finally clicked, and I remember utilizing it a lot. And so I was an early adapter Dad is the same way. Dad was an early adapter of all technologies. I feel like I was an early, like Dad, taking it back. Okay, this is neat. And we'll talk more about Life Scope in a minute. But so you talk about like Dad was an early adopter of technology. And I was an early adopter of technology from fishing and even social media and all the things that we do. I've always tried to like find out what the next best thing is. What's neat about Dad, you know what the early technology was back in the 60s?
Flasher, right?
Hydro maps. These my dad's father was an engineer, and he built the Tom Bigby Waterway and some of these. So the geo maps that the government made for all land, all they're all geo maps. They're all maps. Like you can go to the city of Austin and go to the county clerk or go to the Corps of Engineer building, and it's public record. You can get maps. They'll print them off
Right.
for you.
Yep.
And they'll show you the topographical of all the rivers and everything. But back in the 60s, like nobody had lake maps back in the 60s. You know what I mean? Like when you went fishing back in the 60s, like it was very rudimentary technology. You know, nobody had anything.
Right.
But Dad figured out by being around an engineer that he could get these maps. So he had these maps of like Toledo Bend and Rayburn and all these lakes that were flooded, but he had the original maps that showed the topographical, foundations and all these really good maps. And he knew how to read the map. So he would triangulate the telephone poles and things off points and figure it all out. And so he won tournaments doing that. So that was like, and then, but when you talk about technology, this is a neat kind of a point, really. There was a few guys doing that, Dad being one of them. The bulk of the rest of the field didn't do that technology. They didn't utilize maps. They could easily went and got maps. It wasn't like it was illegal or they didn't have access to them, but they didn't think about it and they didn't do it. They didn't catch them as good as the guys that did have the maps, right? And then you fast forward to the first version of side imaging, and Kevin Van Dam was kicking everybody's tail because he understood hummingbird side imaging better than anybody right out of the gate. And he had a lot of Tennessee River tournaments those couple years, and he won a lot of stuff because he was the guy that figured out how to read it. And the bulk of the rest of the field didn't. And so then you fast forward to Panoptics. They first came out with it. I was one of the first guys to see it and understand it. And I won tournaments because of I was probably one of the very first. I think I am the first guy to ever win a national tournament on Panoptics. I really did.
Wow.
And then you fast forward to where we are today, it's the same kind of thing. Now everybody's got that technology now, but they don't know how to quite use it. I look at Panoptics, and I keep saying Panoptics. This used to be what it was called, LiveScope, and I knew how to read it really good, and I was good at it, but I'm not as good as everyone else now. They've taken it to the next level in their skill sets. So it's not the technology. I have the technology. I'm not as good as some of these other guys.
Is that
You
because
have
they're
LiveScope.
younger?
You
I
called
wanna argue
me
that.
and asking me.
Is that because they're younger? I mean, do you think it's the younger guy? I mean, is there because
don't
they grew
know.
up with iPads, because they grew up with phones? Do you think that their processing in their head is compared to your age and my age? I'm older than you, obviously, by a lot. But do you think that these young kids, these younger guys, are able to read that information, discern that information, and adapt, make that technology more efficient for them than it is for you or for me? You think age is a contributing factor?
I think age is a contributing factor across the board. Take technology out of it. It's in fishing. It's in decisions on what to do, where to go, sonar, non-sonar, everything. They're a younger mind thinks faster. It's just a faster process, and they're good. Here's the difference. It's not they're faster in their brains. They've been doing it since they were 14. And when you learn how to do something at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, it's resonated into your soul, right? When you try to learn something at 40 or 50 or 60, like some of these guys are trying to do, it doesn't resonate the same way. It doesn't absorb into your brain the same way. These kids learned it during their developmental time that their brain. So it's second nature to them. It's not their
Wow.
brains are faster. They learned it younger. They learned
Right.
it. That's what they learned. And
So
so
just
they've
so
gotten
so
better at it. And so it makes it harder.
So just like a foreign language, they say it's easier to learn a foreign language when you're young.
Yeah.
Just in the same mindset, when you're around somebody speaking a foreign language at 9, 10, 11, 12, you pick up on it like that. Try teaching a 30, 40, 50-year-old a foreign language. So, and
100%.
I never thought about
100%.
that till you said that, but that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense, Scott. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so if anybody wants to be mad, say, "Oh, these kids are learning their sonar technology and all this stuff and life scope and da 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 da," then blame high school fishing
Wow.
because that's what started it all. When fishing went to high school and middle school, where these kids are fishing tournaments. And here's the other thing. I'll take it a step farther. Why are these guys so good? There's a lot of these guys on tour, young guys, that you take the sonar away from them. Oh, it's because of sonar and live scope. They're all that's the only reason you take that away from them, they can't catch anything. And I disagree with that. There are some guys that are obviously more invested in live sonar than others, but a lot of these young guys, and I've fished with a lot of them, they're fantastic fishermen, right? They're going to catch them just as good without scope or with scope. Do they have the 20 years of experience on these lakes that they go to like some of the veterans do? No. But here's what they do have, which is interesting. I think to become a good tournament fisherman, I think it boils down to the amount of tournaments that you fish, real tournaments, the amount of real tournaments you fish where you had to make really hard, gut wrenching decisions to do well in those tournaments. And what my example is this. Again, high school fishing. These kids spent 4 years in high school fishing 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 tournaments a year on lakes around their region, not just their hometown, around their region, fishing different bodies of water. Then they go off to college and they fish around their region, all of different bodies of water, fishing all these tournaments each year. So they come out on tour at 21 years old, and you say, it's just a young kid, and all he knows is live scope. No, back up a minute. He's been fishing 8 years on tours, and he's fished 100 tournaments where he's had to make game day decisions and read the water and make things work and all the different things you have to do to compute all those decisions in that gives you knowledge and confidence to be a good fisherman. They have it at 21 when we didn't have it at 21. But here's the other thing. It's like a lot of fishermen are saying, oh, these guys are too young. They're, they this, that, and the other. They're not going to catch them without scope. I disagree. I think a lot of these guys, a lot of these young guys, and I fished with a lot of them. I'm friends with a lot of them. They're fantastic fishermen, some of the best in the world. And here's why. Here's why, Byron. In my opinion, to be a very, very good tournament angler, you've heard the term time on water, right? You need you need a step further. It's time in tournaments. It's time in tournaments, not time on water. That's what makes you a good tournament winning angler. Time in
Point.
tournaments.
That's a good point.
Because that's when your brain and you force yourself to push through these things. You have to make hard decisions. You have to stick with your gut. You have to fish your instincts. It's a do or die situation when you're fishing in a tournament versus when you're out fun fishing. Me and you go fun fishing on the lake. We don't have that same feeling of urgency, right? But in a tournament, you do. And when you look
Right.
at these young guys that are 19, 20, 21 years old, and you say, "Oh, how are they so good?" It's because they've been fishing tournaments. Again, high school events has led to a lot of this. High school events led to them being good at sonar. High school events have led them being good at being good fishermen because as a freshman, they fished 5 or 6 or 7 tournaments in their area, different lakes. As a sophomore, same thing. Then they went off to college, a lot of them did, and fished all over the region of the country in tournaments.
That's
So when they get to the elites or they get to the opens or they get to the MLF or whatever big tournaments they get to, they have 60, 70 tournaments under their belt. When you and I fished at 20 years old, we didn't have that. I didn't have 60 or 70 tournaments under my belt as a 18, 19-year-old kid. I
that's
fished a
a
few little tournaments.
Yep. Yep, that's a great point, and I've seen that. I've seen exactly that with the high school kid that I went out with doing that swim bait education. Dylan Sorrells, he's a high school champion, got a full ride scholarship to Alabama. He sends me his resume. He sends me his resume, and it's seventh place, 300 boat tournament, sixth place, 280 boat tournament. Like, and I'm in the boat with this 19-year-old kid who has gone all over the country fishing since high school. He's only 19 years old, but Scott, his resume is like, dude, you're top 10 in these 300, 400 boat tournaments, you and your team partners, and
Yeah.
they're machines, dude. They are fishing machines. And his weakest thing was swim baits. He goes, I need to be on the water with you to learn swim baits. I don't know swim baits. I can go on YouTube and see all that stuff. But kind of like you, it's these kids that are so hungry for it. Dude, he hired Tommy Biffle to take him out pitching and flipping for a day or two. He hired me to take him out swim bait fishing for a day or two. Like, this kid is ate up with being a well-rounded angler, and he's going to the experts in each field to have those guys dial him in. And like I said, to your point, I mean, I couldn't believe at 19 years old, the resume he shared with me, which I sent to Livingston. I'm like, you guys need to see this kid, man. We did a video where he caught that giant on at Canyon Lake on a glide bait on live scope, because he goes, I want to learn how to live scope with a glide bait. And I want to just go out there, and I go, well, I'll give you the front of the boat. You set up the Garmin however you want. I'll get you all the baits. We'll have my boat full of soft plastic swim baits and hard swim baits. And he goes, he goes, I don't care if we catch them or not. I want to know I'm doing it right. Like, I
Yeah.
want you to tell me how to hold the rod, how to cadence, how do I do it? And to your point, this kid is live scoping, and he goes out there like just a natural talent, but it's so much time on the water. It's so much experience. And that's a great way to put it. I've never heard it put as well as you just did it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah. I agree. I mean, these guys are great. These young kids are fantastic, and I look at where this sport's going, man, and it's special. It's special right now with the
The
amount of youth.
talent,
It's yeah,
yeah,
it's
the
crazy.
talent
It's
is through
crazy.
the roof. I mean, he sat there and he's like nonchalant, real soft spoken kid, no, not real unassuming. He goes, yeah, we would have won that one, but we had a dead fish. Yeah, we would have won that one. We were 2 minutes late. Yeah, we should have been in the top two in that one. Like, even his top tens and his top 15s
Right.
are all like, just
Yeah.
a slight mistake away from winning those as well.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, God, and he's right now, I need to call him and talk to him because he has a tournament coming up, and he's picking my brain about his next tournament, but he's on the water all the time. And how do you compete with that nowadays? Because those kids are eating, sleeping, and drinking fishing.
I know it is awesome, and it's growing up with Hilary, with her fishing and me being around the high school tournaments and being her coach. That was fun. I wish I could go back and do that again. I told Amelia, which Amelia, she doesn't really like to fish much, even though she's the best fisherman in the family. And I tell this to everybody in front of Hillary, Amelia's the best because Amelia's only made, when you do the math, Amelia's only made 10,000 casts in her life, in her whole life, but she's caught like 150 fish. And Hillary's made like 2 million casts, right? So her ratio, her cast to catch ratio, Amelia's is way better than Hillary's.
Like,
So, but I
that
always
sounds like
told
a live
Amelia,
scoper.
yeah, yeah, I
Live
told
scoper
Amelia,
they make 200 casts a day, but every one of them is out of fish.
that's right, that's right. But I told Amelia, I was like, can we just do before she graduated high school? I was like, can we not do at least one high school tournament? I said, we'll do it so different. We'll like hang out, we'll fish a little bit, we'll go to lunch, like whatever. But
Hey,
anyways,
Scott, did you ever, Ken Duke has famously told this story more times than once. Aaron Martin's at his pinnacle had the highest catch rate. Have you heard this story? The highest catch rate in tournaments across the board. So if you added up every day Aaron Martin's competed, he had like a 4.72 catch rate. So he didn't obviously have a limit every day, but he was averaging about 4.72 bass over his entire career
wow,
that everybody for
yeah,
Aaron Martin's.
right,
Now, and Ken Duke's like, now everybody on tour has that record beat. Every live scoper on tour, that 4.72 is not even close to what it is now. Everybody has almost a 5 fish catch ratio almost all the time. Like, these guys don't come in without a limit. We know before live scope, we were casting hoping to be in front of a fish. And Aaron Martins was the best at casting and getting it in front of a fish. Now with live scope, to your point, they make 200 casts a day, but every one of them is at a live target, and they're going to have 5 every day of the week. And it's not going to be Aaron Martin's 4.72 or 4.22. You're going to have a limit every day, or else you might as well forget about being on the water.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, that's cool. I tell you, switching gears because we're talking about the sport and the growth of it and youth. Tell you something really cool, Byron, and maybe you have this down as a question, but have you asked me about my hat right here? Ask
Oh,
me about my hat right here.
yeah, we talked about the Heisners already. Let's see the hat. Oh, I got to put the glasses on. USA Bass. Talk to me about USA Bass.
Well, these are the big international events we're doing. You know, when you look like again, when we started fishing tournaments years ago, it was just a United States thing for the most part. And then high school, college, all that stuff picked up. Now, bass fishing is international, big time international, these tournaments. So we just got back from South Africa, Team USA. I'm one of the captains, and we won a gold medal over there competing against 15 other countries. And
Wow.
it's awesome, man. You know, we ended up coming back from behind and won the gold medal. And Italy was leading the tournament for the first 2 days. Australia came in third. They got a bronze medal.
Wow. How
Man,
many
I mean,
guys on the team? Tell me a little bit about it, because I know Jacob Wheeler and you and a bunch. Tell me who all went and tell me a little about it.
so on Team USA, there's 3 boats. So here, every country gets 3 boats. Of course, we had 2 people per boat. It was myself and Logan Parks, Team One. Jacob Wheeler, Kyle Welcher, Team Two. Drew Gill and Ott Defoe, Team Three. And Drew Gill and Ott Defoe, they ended up winning gold medal overall. They ended up winning the whole tournament. They got first individual gold, and man, it was awesome. But what's really neat, Byron, is that we're competing against all these other countries. So we're competing against Portugal, Spain, Italy, Mexico, Canada, South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe,
Wow.
uh, Dominican Republic, France, Germany, you name it. And
Wow.
there, and here's what's so cool. So like when you envision a tournament in South Africa, or you envision a tournament in Italy, you probably think like, what kind of boats are they in? Are they in little boats, like little rowboats, or are they in like little Italian looking wooden boats with a motor on the back? And what does bass fishing in Italy look like? What does bass fishing in South Africa look like? Here's what's amazing. It looks exactly like it does here. They're all 20 and 21-foot boats with leading edge technology, Yamahas and Mercuries and beautiful bass boats. Some are imported, some are made over there. And so,
Wow.
and when you look at the tackle, and they all have the same tackle, they all have the really cool Japanese stuff and the same jerk baits and like, and you go into a tackle shop. We went to a tackle shop in South Africa. Like, I'm thinking like a tackle shop in South Africa. It looked like a Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so what's really cool, and because here in the United States, a lot of our industry and a lot of our fan base is so blinded thinking that we're the only country that bass fishes when it is really growing overseas. Portugal, of all places, is ate up with bass fishing. There's great tackle shops in Portugal. I'm going to go back to Portugal in November and fish in another team tournament over there. Italy was amazing. South Africa was amazing. I mean, just it's awesome. And so the international side of things for companies like Livingston and the companies that I represent are such a big deal. These companies need to be paying attention to that because that is a market that has the biggest growth side. Because just wait until the tournaments become high school and college fishing tournaments over in Africa or in Portugal or Italy. Like, think about when that happens.
Dude, I gotta tell you, it's so funny you're talking about this. Do you see this trophy right here?
Yeah.
You see that
Yeah.
little trophy? This is a little trophy we all brought home. I don't know if you can read this. If I can bring it up to the camera, wherever it's at. If
Lower
I
it
bring
down
it,
a little bit. Lower it down a little bit. Right there. Okay.
can you read
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Is that in
This
Italy?
it was in Spain. They had the little Euro Cup. They had the
Yes.
Euro Cup in Valladolid, Spain in 2006. And I'm
Yeah.
blown away at what you're talking about, because this was, and it wasn't anything like what you did. It was just Portugal,
Yeah.
Spain, Italy, and it was the
Yeah.
Eurobass Cup. You remember that?
Yeah,
And
I
they
remember
had this,
seeing that.
and I think Ike and Ellie went, I went, Murray went, Brett Height went, we all went, and and we represented the U.S. But they didn't have the big fancy 20 and 21-foot boats back then, and everything. This is 2006 when we came home with the trophy,
That's great.
and it was, dude, it wasn't like what you're talking about now, because it was these small little fiberglass boats that were kind of funny, and the small motors, and it did, from what you experienced just now compared to what it was like in Spain in 2006 for the Euro Cup. That it was a great event to be invited over there, but we saw it in a very much more primitive state than you did. It was just a couple countries. It was some guys that all got together. They had brought Team USA over there, but it was a different kind of team. It was a whole bunch of guys that fished in a bunch of boats. It wasn't like what it sounds like. Yours was super polished and legit, like a legit
Yeah, no,
hardcore world
it's
event. Wow. Did
over
we
there in Europe and all these countries now, and it's again, it's the biggest upside in fishing right now that I see, and so I'm really happy to be representing Team USA, and I'm really
That's
happy we
so
won
cool.
gold. It's awesome.
Hey, one more thing on my notes. Let's talk about your social media. I got that and one question. I know we're burning up a lot of time here. We've already been going for like an hour and a half, and I love it. So I'm going to build, and I got to get a bunch of pictures from you. I'm going to put a bunch of pictures in the YouTube version of this podcast. A lot of people listen on Spotify and all the other places and streaming, but a lot of people like to watch it on YouTube. So we'll have pictures to mix in. But you were at the pinnacle. You were doing social media when nobody knew what it was, basically, for fishing. And do you remember when you and I would hang out and you would have this little, I think they called it Periscope or something?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
there
yeah,
and people were periscoping, and we'd be at a restaurant, you'd be periscoping with people, and I'd see
yeah.
little
That's
hearts and
right.
stuff. And it
Yeah,
was that
that's right.
you're this is you and I hanging out,
That's
you
so
were
funny.
periscoping, dude.
That's so
And
funny.
heart emojis are flying, and people are talking to you. And I'm here with my friend Byron. I go, dude, what is that? Oh, this is
Oh,
Periscope, and all these
yeah.
people are responding to what you're saying. Do you
It was like
realize?
the first on.
Tell
I
me
do
about your
remember that. That
social
was
media.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I've always tried to be one step ahead. That Periscope was, man, I tell you, I
You
had to get
were
off Periscope. I had to get off Periscope because like like I would be on there and it'd be feeding you like it'd be feeding you other people's Periscopes. And man, it got dark. It got crazy, dude. There was people doing things that are like elite, like it was bad. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
really,
But yeah, but
really.
Periscope was like the first. They were like the first video streaming deal. So,
Talk to
but
me
yeah,
about your social
Instagram.
media background, because you, honest to God, Scott, you are the king of social media and fishing. Really, you've got a massive following, but you've been doing it for so long. I want to hear all about it, because educate me on social media and Scott Martin.
Well, it's all self taught. I mean, I went to school for a little while for marketing, but wasn't social media. I just, I've just self taught myself all those things, and I still handle my social media. I got a lot of people think, oh, he's probably got a big team of people that are commenting and posting stuff, and I do have a little bit of help with as far as posting stuff, but man, it's me. It's all me. Like that's why some of the words are misspelled. Some of the there's some grammatical errors in some of them because it's me. Suzanne's always like, you need to like have somebody write that for you. And I'm like, well, then they would know it's not me, right? Everything's all perfect.
But it started. I
But
mean, when did you start doing social media, and how did you start? I remember. I couldn't believe I remembered the word Periscope. I was trying to explain the other day to a guy. I go, Scott Martin was on an app where all of this stuff was like bubbles of hearts and bubbles of thumbs up and stuff, and bubbles were coming across the screen. And I mean, this is 10 years ago,
yeah,
probably 11 years
yeah,
ago. When did you start doing social media? Obviously, you're helping your dad with it, because your dad is a social media juggernaut. And I know he's not doing that at 86 years old on his own.
yeah,
So I gotta
yeah, yeah.
believe you are your dad's Spangali, little puppeteer doing all that social media for your dad. But it started for you 10 or 12 years ago.
At least, yeah. I don't know. I remember Facebook obviously being the first thing that I jumped on and started, with the TV show, at least taking some of those clips and stuff and putting them on social. And I just realized how I always wanted to be different. Like anytime I sat down with a sponsor or a potential sponsor and I wanted to try to get a deal, you know, I knew it was way more than just putting a sticker on a boat. So how do I separate myself from a guy that just can say he's going to put a sticker on a boat and a sticker on a jersey? Tournaments are unpredictable. You can't win tournaments every single day. And so if you're going to build your worth and your worth to these sponsors based on how many fish you catch is kind of a risky proposition to do. because the day you stop catching them is the day your career's over. So I just realized that I needed to get into that. I don't remember exactly what the moment was, but I just remember thinking like I need to do this a little bit. And then YouTube, kind of developed as well. And I was kind of an early adopter of that. I knew a lot of these young guys before they all formed up. And, I remember taking Andrew Flair, to Canada on a fishing trip. This is before he was even well known at all on social media. Just a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff just came. A lot of that stuff just came with me just paying attention to what was going on in the world and just not being
Yeah.
afraid to learn, do it. I just did it on my own. I think a lot of people are scared of social media, so that's why they waited so long to do it because they say, "Oh, I don't know how to."
Yeah.
When it's really just doing yourself and doing things. So that worked out. And then with the TV show and everything like that going as long as it did, I think I enjoyed filming the show so much that I was like, man, there's only 13 episodes on a TV show for the year. That's not enough. I want to capture all these great times that I go fishing and go do all these great things from here in Florida to all over the world and fishing tournaments that I
And you said
decided
there's
to bring
something.
along.
And you said there's something new going on with the TV show now. Like, so when we talked before we did the podcast, you said you're expanding the TV show, going to a full
Yeah.
hour or
So for
something.
this, yeah, for this next year, we're including a saltwater series now, and the saltwater series is going to be an hour long program. So it's going to be an hour long episode, which is
Wow.
something I've always wanted to do because in the TV world with a 30-minute episode, that's only 22 minutes to tell a story, to really get into the weeds of why you're there and what you're doing. And so an hour long program, in my opinion, gives us about 44 minutes of content. It allows us to really take the viewer along a journey and show them what much more than just going fishing for the day. We're going to, in these episodes, show everything from getting ready to everything between to the fishing to, everything. So I think it's going to be more of a a true reality fishing show.
Wow. Sounds like a great show. So where can the audience, I want to get a banner for it for the podcast. I want to promote it on the podcast. So I need to get all the information so we can have it here for the people. But if people that don't get to see it on YouTube, where do they find the show?
Yeah, so the show will be on Pursuit Network starting in January. I don't know the exact time block right now, but it's leading off the Sunday. I think it's Sunday saltwater episodes. It's leading off. And then we're going to be on Outdoor
Great.
America, which is a gigantic platform of online streaming opportunities that we'll have. So we'll be all over the streaming platforms as well. And that's where the show will be. And then, of course, we still have the SMC, the Scott Martin Challenge that we're filming. It will air on all those networks as well. And we're looking forward to a whole new season. Now that I have a little bit more time from tournaments, and by the way, a lot of people wonder, like, you go fish tournaments. I get people asking me every day, what are you going to do on these tournaments? For me right now, what I'm not going to do is go fish a big tour. I'm done with the tour stuff. I did the highest level for 25 years, and I'm good with that. I don't need to be on the highest level of fishing tours. I did that for 25 years. I want to have fun. I want to hang out with people, have fun, fish the way I want to fish, have a good time, not be so stressed out. And this bass fishing world is, it's gone through a lot of changes over the last couple of years. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. So it's just a good time for me to take a step back and just have fun and fish a handful of selective tournaments that I want to fish, some Toyotas in the right places, some more of these events, some international stuff that I'm going to do apart from any of these tournaments, and
Wow.
bounce
Yeah.
around and just do fun stuff and be an asset to the fishing industry. And that's what I want to do.
Wow. You know what? That's like once I retired from the tour, to your point, I would go fish an open every now and then. Clear Lake would have an open. I would drive my boat up there, fish the Clear Lake Open, US Open. I won two of them. I'm going to go fish the Havasu or Lake Mead US Open. So I would just cherry pick fun events that sound good to me. And it's been like that for me since 2016 when I retired. It's like somebody can watch my daughter long enough for me to go fish one event here, one event there, an open event, have fun, enjoy it, see my old friends again. But I get where you're coming from. I have zero desire to ever go back on a tour. And I'm sure a big tour, like I wouldn't go back to Bassmaster, Major League Fishing, FLW, whatever's out there now. I wouldn't go back to any of those. They couldn't pay me to go back to them. All expense paid. I don't want it again. And we talked about this together. It's now you get to be home with your family and see your kids more. And, Suzanne and you get to do things. And Scott Martin gets to be where Scott Martin wants to be and not being told where to be all year long.
Yeah, I don't want to miss a birthday, a really good football game with friends, A really good vacation or trip or a spring break. I mean, I can look back at all the spring breaks that got messed up because I had a tournament right on the middle of something,
Yep,
or
yep, yep.
birthdays that I missed, or graduations that I didn't get to see. So,
So
anyways, that's the plan.
we got a feature part of the show, and I'm going to give you a hint on how it worked out. I asked Dave Mercer. We have a thing called The One That Got Away. And with Dave Mercer, he got into YouTube very early. You know Dave Mercer, he hosts the Bassmaster stuff, right? And he said that he went after the golden moose and he liked television better, so he got off of YouTube. So the one that got away can be a fish. The one that got away can be a contract, anything at all in your life. But Scott Martin, we have a segment. It's called The One That Got Away. And what is Scott Martin's one that got away?
The memory still haunts him. He lost by 2 ounces.
Oh man, you hit me with the one question that you should have opened the show up with. I could have thought about it. The one that got away.
It could be a
The
fish.
one
If
that
there's
got
one
away.
particular fish that haunts you, it could have been I'll give you some examples. For Rick Clunn, it was Tiva sandals while you're thinking, because he found out about Tiva sandals at the Grand Canyon through a guy he didn't realize Tiva sandals,
Yeah.
back in the day, or the thumb
Yeah.
bar on a reel, because he came up with that idea. And Rick Clunn said, I wasn't that great a businessman. So on the podcast, Rick Clunn talked about Tiva sandals and the push button thumb bar that he told Abu Garcia and Daiwa end up doing, pushing down the thumb bar to make a cast instead of reaching over and pushing the button on the side. You know what I mean? For Dave Mercer, it was YouTube. Oh man, everybody's had these great one that's got away. And so I hate to put you on the spot, but is there any one particular thing, whether it's anything at all, that got away from Scott Martin?
Oh man, I can't think of a really great one right offhand. We might have to come back to this one, but
We'll do it for the
one,
second show.
yeah. Well, I'll give you one. I'll give you one, and it's not going to be as awesome, but it's one that I do think about a lot, and it's got a neat story to it, and that's why I think about it. So back, I'd have to go look at the trophy. 10 years ago, FLW, Fort Loudon, FLW tournament.
And show us the trophy
May.
room real quick. Show us the trophy wall. Go ahead and move the camera real quick. I got this. You showed it to me before we started.
All right, here we
Show
go.
us show us the trophy. I want to see the trophy wall. I love it. I love the den. I love the Scott Martin den.
Look at that thing. Look at that thing. Look at that thing.
Oh
Look at
my
that thing.
gosh. The
Look at that.
patches. Oh, look at the patches.
Oh yeah, look at
Dad's-
that, dude. That's OG right there, bro.
Dude, that is super OG, man. That's Dad's monster jacket.
No, it's my grandfather's. My grandfather was a bass
way.
fisherman.
No way.
My mother used to fish team tournaments with her father as a kid. The first woman, basically the first woman ever to fish tournaments was my mom. This was my grandfather's.
Oh, dude, that is so cool. I hope to God people go on YouTube and check this podcast out. That is awesome. Look at the top 1073, top 1074.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been your
top
dad's.
10, top 10. Look at this.
Yeah.
Paws Valley Bass Club. Paws Valley Bass Club.
Paws
Arkansas
Valley
National
Bass
Bass
Club.
Tournament. Grand National 3rd Annual Arkansas Bass Tournament.
Wow.
Toledo Bend, 1970. All-American. They look All-American. Ross Barnetti fished. All-American, 1969, Lake Washita. Yeah. So here's my trophies. I don't know if you can see those good.
Oh, I see them.
Yeah. That's a World Championship Cup right here. There's some FLW trophies. Co-Angler of the Year, that's when it started. Remember? I told you about that?
Yeah. The Co-Angler of the Year trophy. That's where it started for you at the trophy.
Yeah. There's Lake Washita. Forestwood Cup.
Wow.
Yeah. Some more FLW trophies here.
So share with me which of the
Stickers,
trophies is
big
the one that got
bass.
away. Does one of them have a one that got away?
Yeah, I
story
gotta
behind
find it. It's hard to find. I don't know. Here it is. Okay, found it. Oh, here's some more, by the way. Look at these. Those are all big first placemen. Yeah, those are cool. So here's this one here. So one that got away. We got one that got away. Let me put it right here. All right. Second place, Fort Loudon, 2008. I went it was a June tournament, and I had just left Kentucky Lake. The previous event was at Kentucky Lake, and there was a ledge bite. And I had a bunch of crankbaits tied onto my rod locker still, Series 5s and, different ones. And I went to Fort Loudon June, and I wanted to crank like crazy. So I went up the river and I was just power cranking like Kentucky Lake style, real fast and hard, burning that crankbait off the river ledge. And I started catching big smallmouth and big largemouth. So I got the first day and I'm leading the tournament. And I've got 20 something pounds, 22 pounds or whatever it was. I go out the second day and I catch another big bag. I'm leading. I go out the third day, and David Dudley and I are both like first and second throughout the event. And I'm running around cranking all these different schools of fish up and down the river, all the way up to Neyland Stadium behind where the University of Tennessee plays. And I had this one point that had smallmouth on it. And I'd pull up there every day at a certain time, and I could fire that crankbait across that point real fast and lock up and catch big smallmouth. David Dudley was doing the total opposite. He literally, this is before spot lock, he literally had an anchor and rope, and he was anchoring his boat in the middle of the river down by the 40 bridge. There was a bar out in front of 40 bridge that he would anchor his boat every day and sit in his boat in one spot and throw his Carolina rig to the same spot all day for 4 days straight.
My
And he
gosh.
ended up beating me that last day. He put his rod down on the deck of the boat to like grab something, eat a sandwich or something. And the rod started sliding across the deck of the boat. And he reached over and grabbed it and set the hook. Caught like a 6-pounder, his biggest fish he caught the whole week. But the one that got away from me was in that same tournament. I throw out across that point, and I have a 5-pound smallmouth on. It's jumping, and I'm fighting it. And I've got the net out. And I had it by myself, so I had to net the fish myself. And I've got the camera crews following me. They got the still photographer guy snapping photos. And there's a photo in the FLW magazine. I don't have it right here. I need to find it.
And
It
get
was a
it to me
two-part
before the show
spread.
airs. Yeah, I'm going to write down a list of all the
I'll
photos
try
I
to
need.
find it. It's a two-part spread, and it said the $75,000 jump off or something like that.
My God.
And it's me with the net stretched out, and I'm trying to pull the fish to the net, and it's jumping one last time.
No.
And the 5-pound smallmouth 3 feet in the air, and the crankbait in the photo, the crankbait is over my head, and I'm still out, and it falls about this far from the net. And goes away, swims away. And that thing would have won that tournament for me, $125,000 or whatever it was.
Dude, that is
And
an amazing one that got away. Oh.
Yeah, it's the one that got away.
No, dude, that's a great one.
That got
for
away
you to
with
pull
David
that one
Dudley.
out, dude. Oh my gosh, what a great story. That's a fantastic one that got away. It really is. You pulled that one out of your hat, and if you got one better than that, I'd be shocked because that's a good one. And David Dudley, you get second place, and you lose 75 grand because of that fish missing the net by this much.
Yeah. Yeah. And the photo is epic. If I can find the photo, which I have it here somewhere, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
So what I do on these shows is I'm going to go back and watch the whole thing because we did this whole thing together, which we're wrapping up now. And I'm going to probably hit you and Susanna for a bunch of cool pictures all the way back from Hilary holding a fish when she's 5 to the one that got away and all that, because that makes the show really cool is even though you can listen to this streaming on all the streams, if somebody goes on and somebody wants to watch it on YouTube, then they get to see all the pictures I like to insert afterwards. But man, can we do another one? Because we've gone really long, but can I have you back again as a guest? Because I got a list of stuff I didn't get to talk to you about yet.
Absolutely.
I got a couple stories I got to share with you. So we'll do it again down the road. I want to do another one, but I can't thank you enough, Scott. Catching up with you. It's so cool to do it on a podcast because we get to sit there, tell stories, reminisce, have fun, share trophies, talk about trophies and stuff like that, and just kind of banter with each other. And everybody gets to listen to us like sat in with you and I in a garage, just catching back up after all the time we've been apart. So, man, I appreciate your friendship, Scott, and I thank you for being on the show in a big way.
Appreciate you, buddy. See you, man. See you, Byron.
Take care,
tell Camber hello, and you guys have a great rest of your day.
Well, Hilary, I said hi. Sorry we couldn't get her on the show. Take care.
Fishtails has been brought to you by Livingston Lures. Learn more at livingstonlures.com. Fishtails is also supported by these fine sponsors: Trika Fishing, Mercury Outboards, and Camus Boats.